Meisha Robinson is a brand strategist and social entrepreneur committed to generating innovative and impactful changes in organizations and communities. She currently works for Unite, a growing community of diverse people across belief, experience, and expertise dedicated to fulfilling the promise of America Together. Ms. Robinson is also the executive director of I Am, We Are, a nonprofit organization piloting in South Africa, dedicated to empowering youth with the fortitude, knowledge, and necessary skills to actively build the future they envision for themselves. Ms. Robinson has managed multi-million-dollar brands for Campbell Soup Company and Reckitt Benckiser. She has also led marketing and communication efforts for the National Peace Corps Association, George Washington University. Committed to service, Ms. Robinson has served as a United States Peace Corps volunteer in Benin, West Africa, and South Africa as a marketing manager for Special Olympics. She received her Master's of Business Administration in Marketing from New York University's Leonard Stern School of Business and a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. Welcome, Meisha. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you, Bill, for that introduction. I'm excited to be here with you today. I'm humbled and overjoyed to be with all of you here today. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my presentation. One second. All right, there we go. I believe y'all can see my screen. So the inspiration for the conversation that we're going to be having today, for the words that I'm going to be sharing with you truly from my heart today, are you were called for a time such as this. But before we get started, I want to recognize that I do not come here alone this morning. I am accompanied by the spirit of my ancestors, free and enslaved, colored, Negro, and Black and mulatto people that have been in the US before it was the US and was just merely a colony. My people have fought in almost every American war, from our recent battles in Afghanistan to the Revolutionary War. From Caesar McDonald to Della Edgefield, I stand and I say thank you. I embrace my Irish roots from the bloodlines of Ralph Jones and the Puerto Rican heritage that flows through me from the bloodlines of Frank Albert Robinson. I thank them all for their sacrifices, for their pain, for their love, and for their journeys, because they are me and I am them. And I carry them forth with me today and every day. So I grew up in the Baptist church. I have Southern roots, and as you heard in the introduction, I've lived in South Africa and Benin and traveled across Africa. So call and response is in my roots and in my heritage. So as I said, this is going to be a dialogue and a conversation. So I'm going to ask y'all a couple of questions throughout the presentation, and I need you to join me just by commenting in the chat. So my first question to you this morning, this fine morning, is what are you grateful for? If you can go to the chat and share. All right. And I don't have full visibility to the chat, but I know, and I'm thinking, and what I'm feeling right now is that there are people that are thankful for their health, thankful for their family, thankful for their friends. And so I thank you for sharing in the chat with me what you're thankful for, and just continue to keep it going. And I bring in all of the things that you are grateful for into this space today that we are creating. And I bring those gratitudes forward with us throughout this day. Thank you again for sharing. In the spirit of sharing, the holiday season is officially upon us now. And so at my house, we celebrated growing up, and we still do, Christmas and Kwanzaa. And my little brother, CJ Robinson, his favorite movie to watch, which if you know and you're familiar with this, A Christmas Story, is on TBS all day long, usually on Christmas Day. And so we all, in our household, we always watched it. And if you're not familiar, and if you know it, +1 in the chat group, let me see, just let me know you're out there and that you've seen this and you know this movie and you've had those experiences in your home as well. And so with that said, if you haven't seen it and you aren't familiar, A Christmas Story is a story of Ralphie, who's pictured here, and his family in Ohio. And Ralphie wants this one particular toy for Christmas. And so the whole movie is about his attention solely being focused on how he can get this one toy. But we're not going to talk about Ralphie right now. What I want to do is I want to talk about his little brother, Randy. So let me show you this clip so you can meet Randy.
Oh, preparing to go to school was like getting ready for extended deep sea diving. I can't believe that you are in my arms. I'm afraid I'll wake up and find it one of those false so that I... Come on, Mom, we're gonna be late. All right, Ralph. Not dreaming. My kid brother looked like a tick about to pop. What? What is it? What is it? Oh. What is it? I can't put my arms out.
All right, so I'll pause that there. And so as the scene goes on, not only can poor Randy not move his arms up and down, but he can barely walk. So he's struggling to keep up with Ralphie and the rest of his friends and just teetering and tottering back and down, up and down the street trying to get to school. And so I've laughed at this scene numerous times. But what struck me in particular on this week is all of the layers that each of us as individuals, that each of us as a community, that each of us as citizens of this great land are wrapped in, that are keeping us from truly being a United States of America. So let me share what a couple of those layers are that I personally have worn, that I see in my own community. And I challenge you, as we're looking at these, to also think about if you have on any of these layers. So in this picture, and again, over in the chat, let me know what you see. Who are these people that are gathered here? How do they know each other? Are they inside? Are they outside? And there's a lady with an object above her head. What is that object in the picture? Okay. Looking at your comments coming in. All right. So Robert Laws, who was a missionary in Malawi, found that Westerners, when they look at this image, similar to many of you, what they see is a family sitting in a room inside. But here's the catch. When he showed it to people in his community in Malawi, and they've done this study in other parts of Africa, what they actually saw was an extended family sitting outside. So for instance, in Western eyes, this is the corner of a wall, but for people in Malawi that looked at this image, this was a tree. And this object right here, where some people, and when I first saw this, I saw a window. People that were in his community in Malawi, they saw actually a basket or a box that this woman was carrying on her head. Interesting, right? And so what this is a reminder of is the impact that culture and environment that we grew up in, how much it shapes our visual perception, our view of the world that we live in. And as we have all heard before, perception shapes reality. So let's look at another layer that many of us are wearing, our beliefs. So our behaviors are a function of the beliefs that we have made about ourselves and about the world that we live in. And so a lot of these beliefs are things that we've been carrying and beliefs that we have held true since we were children. And especially some of those beliefs that were things that were whispered to us or that were said to us that we have then adopted into our own self-talk, right? So let me give a couple of those beliefs to you. Just and think about these and think about if it reminds you of anybody you know, or maybe even yourself. I can't trust others. I don't fit in anywhere. I'm a failure. I'm inferior. So imagine if those are the beliefs that are going on in your head underneath the surface. What are the behaviors that we see and then exhibit, not just as children, but as adults, and how we interact with each other as a community? And so the interesting thing is that those beliefs then become our facts. And so when we're having conversations with each other, this is how we're communicating with each other, from our belief systems. And then we look at social media and the echo chambers, and there's no surprise, I'm sure, to anybody that's here with us today, is that then the algorithms are programmed to then just keep confirming our biases, confirming our beliefs. So all the information, the news, the people that we see in our feed, they are all people that think like us. I love this cartoon that says here, we see Johnny walking up to the echo chamber door, and what it says there at the bottom, that's captioned, is Johnny opened the door. Sorry, and it's cut off on my screen. Johnny opened the door to the one place he always heard the truth, right? That's what it feels like. And so you're like, it confirms everything you believe, no matter if it's true or if it's not true. So if we were living like that, and we've been in that world of echo chambers through social media for years now we're at the pandemic. And so not only had our worlds gotten smaller through social media and that confirmation bias that exists in those echo chambers, but then in addition to that, now we literally are living in bubbles. We're literally living in isolation and in quarantine. And so the people that we are now in most communication with, not only they look like us, they think like us, they believe the same things that we believe. So our worlds have just gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. One other last layer that I want us to think about today, and that is the layer around attention. So if you think about a flashlight, and wherever if I'm holding it, the flashlight itself, wherever I shine it onto, that is, wherever I hold it to, excuse me, that's my intention. And whatever that beam of light shines onto, that's my attention. And so every day, there are people vying for our attention. We now live in a world with a 24-hour news cycle, social media, advertisers. I used to be in marketing. We all want your attention. We're fighting for your attention. But is that attention all good? Because where you put your attention is then what you are fostering within yourself. It's what's growing. And so I ask us to just think about, are the things and the places that we are giving attention to, what is it growing inside of us? This week in particular, what is it growing inside of us? How is it affecting our fear, maybe, our anxiety, our view of the country, and our view of the world? So I go back to little Randy here. And if we had gone further in the movie, not only couldn't Randy walk down the street and couldn't move his arms, he ends up falling on the ground and just making kind of like a snow angel and waddling and can't get up. That's where I feel we are as a country, that we're a lot of scared children wrapped in a lot of layers. And right now we can't get up, but we need to get up. So let's look at this with some data. So we at Unite, we conducted a survey with the Benison Group. And what we found when we talked to people, we did some ethno-journaling exercises, and these are direct quotes from the journals, is that one, individualism has been taken to its extreme. So my needs, my desires are all that matters. That there's been a collapse of truth. It's my version of reality against yours. And then, we all know the term now, fake news. So no authority figure deserves my trust. There's been a privatization of ultimate meaning. So you keep your beliefs to yourself. We have shaming, we have scapegoating. And so we're constantly pointing our fingers at the other side and saying that they're the problem. We're fine. I'm right. I'm right. I'm courageous and morally courageous in my beliefs. I'm right. They're wrong. They need to fix it. They need to do something different. And then there's a loss of faith in our higher being and in our higher purpose. And so that's looking at it qualitatively, what's going on. Let's look at it from the numbers. 8 in 10 people say we've never been more divided. 9 in 10 say division is a serious problem. More than 50% say division has caused them anxiety or depression. And 1 in 4 have broken off a key relationship due to politics. And so when we look at all of that divisiveness, that anger, that scapegoating, that finger pointing that is going on in the country, at Unite, we believe that not only are we fighting a pandemic that is a health, and not only are we fighting a pandemic that is COVID, but we're also fighting a pandemic of division, and is leaving us stuck, and it's making us sick. And America right now is a house divided. And as we know, a house divided cannot stand. And so if we look at what we've also lost within all of this, one of the key essential things that we have lost, which is one of the key things that we've lost that is essential to unity, is shared meaning. Shared meaning. Our small businesses and local and cultural institutions are being swallowed up at historic rates. These are all the institutions that used to give us meaning, our churches, our small towns and in our communities, our neighbors, knowing their names, having those relationships with them. We've lost that. Our political parties no longer provide a sense of purpose and healthy competition. And so, and working towards, improving our country. But I do, with that said, have to give a special shout out to Spencer Cox and the Chris Peterson. I saw the ad that they did together, which is the antithesis of this. And it's beautiful to see, a Republican and a Democrat working together. It was beautiful and setting that example for the country. But with that said, that's not the norm across our country. We're seeing our political parties go head to head and just really going low in how they talk to each other. And so with that said, as individuals, we now don't have that connection and that language and that shared meaning that we had before. So I did not come here today to just bring doom and the gloom, but awareness. And I have a challenge for each one of you, and also a challenge even for myself. I challenge us to shed our layers. I challenge us to shed the layers that have kept us feeling safe and have kept us feeling warm and gave us comfort this week. I challenge us to think about the layers that have kept us from recognizing the humanity and the dignity of the other side. Because at the end of the day, Biden supporters are people. Trump supporters are people. And with that said, as people, they all have dignity and they deserve to be treated with dignity. And so I ask you to think about, in this week, did the post that you shared, did they affirm the dignity and the humanity of the other side? Did the comments that you laughed at and the jokes that you laughed at, did they affirm the dignity and the humanity of the other side? And I ask these questions without judgment, and I simply give them to you as an opportunity for reflection. And as we're reflecting, I just ask you and I challenge you to take off those layers. And thinking back to little Randy and his ability not to move his arms, if we take off those layers, we now have the ability, and our arms are free, to reach out to those family members, to those neighbors, to those other people in our community that we cut off because they weren't supporting the same candidate as us. So at Unite, we are working on helping the nation set the layers, of helping us heal from the divisiveness, the anger that has taken over our country, helping us to see each other in new ways so that we can move forward as a country. And so what we believe as Uniters is that we can bring America together again. And not just do we believe that we can, but we feel that we must. And what we also believe is, one, everyone belongs, that we are each an irreplaceable part of an interconnected reality. We believe that uniting takes practice every day and begins with each of us. That wholeness is only possible when we include. We believe in faith and a higher purpose grounds us. That the personal and the social responsibility are essential. Our choices matter. That mutual dignity is a given. Respect and trust are earned. And that moral courage creates both peace and justice. And that the best solutions transcend either or thinking. So with that said, I'm going to show you a clip now that brings these beliefs into practice. 2 months into the quarantine, we held our first initiative, which was called the Call to Unite. We brought people together that were uniters from around the world to bring joy, to bring comfort to people as we were being sheltered into our homes and to bring us closer together. So let's take a look.
Hi, how are you?
Nie wszystko super.
My name is Archbishop Thabo Makobam, joining this call to unite from Cape Town in South Africa.
I am so privileged to be with you here in Montgomery, Alabama.
Coming to you from Manila, Philippines.
I am joining the call to unite to bring the joy of story time to children around the world.
My call is to make sure that we unite people by feeding them.
I've been doing my best to spread positivity.
Develop the skills of empathy and compassion.
Take a stand for those who need help the most.
Slow down our own breath, our own being, our own body in this particular moment.
Hundreds of millions of families across the world find themselves at some of the lowest points that they've ever seen.
We're united in grief. We're united in horror.
And while we're all suffering in our own unique capacity,
We need not suffer alone. In the face of our pain, we must not forfeit our dignity.
We are aware now as we have never been before.
This is the perfect opportunity for us to do what we're doing right now, to reach out, to bring people together.
I think of it as a massive reset for the world.
We certainly need a new normal.
The question really is, what type of normal do we want to get back to?
When we come together like this, it gives us the greatest opportunity to shift the way the world looks today and to really reimagine what the world will look like tomorrow.
People are capable of making huge, radical behavioral changes when they're motivated.
We don't have to wait until pandemic is over to unite. You know, this dream could come true right now.
we have a simple principle as uniters. We believe that we are one. Mothers and fathers, all kinds of monks, musicians, dancers, and all the gifts that humanity has to offer.
We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future.
There's no time for love like now.
This is the calling that we all are being urged to answer.
This is who we are.
Each of us at this moment needs to be a leader. A leader in our personal life, a leader in our communities, and a leader in the world.
May we all find our interconnectedness.
Our place in humanity. We rise or fall together, and we are determined to rise.
The
most powerful force in the world is the individual who has realized their power to do good. We're not just doing it for ourselves, but we're doing it for the sake of the entire planet.
Together, we can be able to walk this path towards healing.
I encourage our global community to answer the call for someone else by giving and volunteering.
Not just calling for unity, but take action.
Take action right here and right now. We have to do more.
So we have to act as one.
We have to unite in common purpose. So join us in service, in generosity, in sharing your ideas. And when you hear the call, answer, here I am, send me.
I've seen that video multiple times now, but every time it touches me. So that was Timothy Shriver, also featured in the video, who is the founder of Unite. And so echoing what he shared with us at the end of the video, I go back to where I started in my inspiration for this message today, for this conversation today. And I remind us all that we, that you, that I were called for a time such as this. And so I invite you to join us. You can go to our social media, which is, you can go to our website, which is unite.us. Follow us on social media at the Call to Unite. There within you can join our community. You can see videos from other videos from the Call to Unite and see other projects that we're creating. Join us, join us. And I close with this quote from Martin Luther King. We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. This is no time for apathy or complacency. So I invite you to join us today. Thank you.